Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/get100 and use code GET100. That's code GET100 at prizepicks.com/get100 for a first deposit matchup to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Welcome to the 10th episode of the Meet the Mancunian podcast. The Meet the Mancunian podcast takes you on a weekly journey around the local community in Manchester. Season 2 has an interesting lineup of inspiring guests making a social or a community impact in the city. Presented by Deepa Thomas Sutcliffe, Newbie Mancunian. Tune in every Tuesday for your weekly dose of inspiration. As Season 2 draws to a close on Tuesday, 14th June 2022, I wanted to let my loyal listeners know that I'll be taking a 5-week break to spend some time with my family. My parents are visiting from India, and with the pandemic, we haven't seen each other since 2019. I'm still recording guests for Season 3 and plan to launch on Tuesday, 19 July 2022. I do hope you'll continue to listen to the podcast, both older favorite episodes and new interesting ones. Love supporting local producers and creators? We hear from Heather Thorpe, market organizer, Heaton Moore's Producers Market in this episode. I'm delighted to introduce my guest, Heather Thorpe, market organizer, Heaton Moore's Producers Market. Thank you, Heather, for joining me today.
Welcome. Hi. Pleasure.
Tell us about how you started the Heaton Moore's Producers Market, and you also have a pop-up artisan market. So tell us about how you started both of them.
I started because I'm a trader myself. I have a very small business selling greetings cards. And so I was interested in widening because I'd been living abroad for quite a while and I'd come back. And so I was looking at new sort of ventures, openings. And I found out about the very, very tiny market close to me. And so got involved with that. And it was somebody, it was actually Mel's friend. Oh, but that's from a different podcast. But it was her friend, and she was called Amanda Forey, and she'd started this market. So I got involved with her and just really enjoyed it. And so between us, we started to grow the market to make it bigger. And then eventually she stepped out, and I've taken it over and grown it since, and then started up the Heaton Mersey Artisan pop-up one. But that just happens a few times a year. It really is a pop-up. So yeah, that's how it started.
Nice. So what inspired you to get involved? You talked about moving from another market and also starting your own from another country. So what was it that helped you find your passion for local markets?
Oh, well, I was living in France for a long time, and I'd started doing some local markets there, and I just really enjoyed it. I'd enjoyed that whole, stepping into another world and all of that. And so it was a sort of a natural fit when I realized there was one nearby, that a little tiny starting up one. So I was just interested in doing it. So yeah, I suppose I'd already put my foot in the water a little bit in France already. So yeah.
That's nice. And tell us about the people who participate in your market, as well as the people who come and visit and are shoppers or customers at the market. So tell us about both sides, the people who sell and the people who buy.
We have quite a significant number of people come as customers, and a lot of those are regulars, a lot of those are locals, but equally they'll come from quite a distance. and they come and meet up and meet their friends and everything. So, and they're tremendously loyal and have been really supportive, been really nice. And the traders are all, I've choose them all individually. So they're all independent traders. They all make their own produce, either food or crafts or whatever. So I don't have anybody that's sort of buying stuff in and reselling it, anything like that. They all have to be, it all has to be handmade or hand produced or that sort of thing. Or we've got somebody who sells olive oil, and although he doesn't produce his own olives, he goes to a single producer in Greece, and it's that sort of thing, and they bottle it just for him and that sort of thing. So yeah.
And what would you say are the challenges you may have faced? Because like you said, it was a small market and which you started to support, and now you're leading it. What's that journey been? Have there been some significant challenges? Have there been any learnings from those challenges?
Everything that you do, you never did before, always brings its own learning curves, as you must have found out doing podcasts. I mean, yeah. So yes, I mean, there have been bumps in the road. Like, we originally started on a Saturday and we were in a car park, and we wanted to go out onto the road and get the highway blocked and everything. But you've got to go around all the local shops and check it's okay with them. And there was a fly fishing shop, and he point blank refused. He refused to have the roads blocked because he said his customers wouldn't walk 50 meters to his shop. And so because of that, because you just need one objection. So we moved on to a Sunday, which actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise, actually. So you never quite know. What appears sometimes to be an obstacle quite often will end up being an opportunity. So you never know, do you? And actually, he's since closed down, and we get on very well with the people that have taken it over. So yeah, it's worked out. But so those are sort of logistical challenges. Otherwise, haven't had many challenges with customers, haven't had many challenges with traders. The traders are all, because the traders know what it's, they know what they're looking for. They want a good local market. They want good footfall. They want you to do your side of the bargain, really. And so they've always been very good and very supportive. The main challenges come with really sort of little things, really, like parked cars. If we have parked cars overnight, then we have trouble getting the gazebos up. And then, because you've always got to have room to allow ambulances to come through in an emergency. But if there's parked cars there, where do you then put those gazebos? I mean, this is people's livelihoods, and you can't, even though I've asked people not to park there. And every single market we get effed and jeffed at because somebody can't drive through the market. And it's always men, and they always completely lose it. And Google Maps, it's a 1 minute detour, but yeah. And sexism has reared its head as well. I've had men come and asking me who's the market manager, and looking behind me or round me, or and then they find it's this very small grey-haired woman that stood in front of them. So that's been interesting.
That's a change, right? That's changing, I hope, as an attitude, as more and more people realize.
It's only happened a couple of times in all the time I've been doing it, I have to admit. But I still get it, but not from in that way. But I get it from the drivers that want to go up. They will shout at me and demand to speak to the manager or the organizer, and I'm just like, well, I'm afraid this is it. So they just get even more irate. Because not only am I telling them they can't drive where they want to go, I'm also coming out from a very small grey-haired woman, and it doesn't go down well. I quite enjoy that.
That is interesting. I thank you for sharing those challenges. I really liked the first one where you talked about every challenge presents a new opportunity. I think that's a great attitude to have, and potentially that changes the way you look at a challenge. You're like, okay, it's now making me think harder. I need to have a plan B, and your plan B worked out better. So
yeah, it's often the way, isn't it? It's often the way that you don't see what's coming. But if you just go with it, then it tends to work out. And
great ideas. So what impact would you say you've made so far?
On a personal basis, it's become a thriving, business, which has been very satisfying. And also on a personal basis, it's been really nice getting to know the traders and all of that sort of thing. But the impact, the community impact, has been really nice, and a bit was probably slightly unforeseen, because I knew markets, are nice for you to go to on a Sunday and all of this, but it's become quite a focal point, and you can tell because we're standing behind our gazebos, and watching what's going on, and people are coming specifically to meet up there and specifically to chat to each other, and they come and they support, because these are all independent traders. So, and they come specifically, to buy their bread on this day because they know this is an independent trader. So it's that sort of social, networking is actually really nice. It's really nice. And I suppose in a way for me, it's been a bit of a byproduct, but a really nice byproduct. And it's really nice in the local community, that on social media and all sorts, all over the place, people will refer to the market. And that's really nice. Gives where we live a sort of focal point, I suppose. Yeah. And the pop-up markets are cute because they're in a different location in front of a church on some cobbles in Heaton Mersey. And Heaton Mersey doesn't really sort of have a sort of very obvious centre somehow, but when the market's on and the church is open and they're running things in there, it gets this sort of like village fete sort of vibe going, and that's really nice too, and it gives this sort of nice feeling there too. So yeah, again, not unexpected, but really, really satisfying. Nice.
Sounds lovely. How can interested people reach out to you and learn more? So what time are the markets? Where can they see it? On social media or a website?
Yeah, the best thing to do is to go onto, there is a website, just Google Heaton Moor Markets and you'll find it. And then on social media, you can, on Facebook, where it's Heaton Moor Producers Market or Heaton Mersey Artisan Market. Instagram, it's Heaton Moor Markets. And Twitter, the same. So yeah, but it's the first Sunday in every month, and it's 10:30 till 2:30, except for January when it's too cold, too wet, and we have a month off.
That's fair enough. I guess after Christmas, everyone's a bit shopped out for a little while till they get finances in order, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds really interesting. So what advice would you have for people looking to start something similar in another part of the world? We've got listeners from around 20 countries right now. And, many of my listeners may be curious about how do they start a local market in their community?
Well, if you want to start in a local community, basically, there's quite a few ducks to get in a row, but you would have to look at your country's rules and regulations. That would be the very first place to start, because when I looked in France before we came here, then it wasn't so straightforward in France. You really have to go through the local mairie and work through the local system. Whereas here in the UK, you really need to go out, find your piece of, where you want to run it, look at the venues and everything, and then approach the council. And depending on where you live, the councils here tend to be quite supportive, because especially in Stockport, they were interested that we were going to start this up. And so it would definitely vary on which country you're in and where you are. And probably even in the UK, depends maybe on your council even. And depends how many other markets. I mean, there's no point in starting a market if there's a market a mile away, because all you're going to do is dilute. People only have a certain amount to spend, and you're just creating dissension where there doesn't need to be. You need to look at all that sort of thing, and decide what type of market you want to be as well. And some people just run arts and crafts ones, other people just run food markets. I was approached, would I run just an Italian market with just Italian themed things? So yeah, you just find your niche and get to work.
So that's really interesting. What's the most popular items? What are the items, like you said, artisanal bread, or the things that your regulars keep coming back for?
Oh, it's food. Food is the most, yeah, definitely. Everything, if you can get the food side of a market right in the UK, then then people will come. They'll come, and especially for fresh bread and things like that. And we have somebody who makes handmade pies, and they're very popular, and people will come specifically and send in orders beforehand and all that sort of thing. So there is, certain niche things that people will come out for. In the driving rain and the cold, they will come in and they will just zigzag through the market, run to their stalls, and then run out the other side. And certain things people come for.
Oh, fair enough. So this is an outdoor market with a gazebo of some kind? Okay.
Yeah, it's outdoor. Yeah. So when we're talking about the challenges, the weather, of course, is always a continual challenge. And watching weather forecasts is another challenge because they change. And you have to make the judgment call sometimes to cancel, because if the wind's too strong, it's just too dangerous. You can't go ahead.
So I'm going to switch gears and ask you my signature questions, which I ask all my guests. So starting with the first one is, what do you love the most about Manchester?
I was brought up in Manchester. So for me, I really like the familiarity of Manchester. I like going in, knowing my way around it, really. But equally, I like all the changes that have come in Manchester, and I still enjoy that. I can still find new places I've never been to, and so that's what I enjoy most, I think, at the moment about Manchester. It's the change. It changes. Yeah, it's nice. It's good, and it has. It's quite buzzy, isn't it? I mean, there's the theatre, and there's all the usual cultural things, and I still make my pilgrimage to the art galleries and things like that. I go to different, I think that's really nice. I mean, it's just literally on my doorstep. So yeah, I do appreciate it.
That's nice. Where's your favorite place in Manchester?
I personally like the Northern Quarter because it wasn't a thing back in the day, and now it's a thing. And I like it because as probably reflection of the market, actually. I like it because they're independents. They tend to be independent traders. A lot of them, where they're not buying stuff in and bringing, especially the food places, they're making it on site and all that sort of thing. And they're not chains. So personally, I like the Northern Quarter the best. And I like Affleck's Palace just because I quite like this sort of anarchy of Affleck's Palace, the way that it just seems like everything's been thrown in and tossed in the air. So quite like that.
One of my other guests also mentioned that, and I said I must check it out at some point. I keep making mental notes of places to visit. And I think they talked about Affleck's Palace as, again, quick, quirky, independent kind of stores. That'd be nice. What's the most important life lesson you've learned?
The most important life lessons I've learned, probably that everything that happens to you shapes who you are. So, I mean, we're sat here now and we're only here because of all that's happened to us in the past. So, yeah, I think as I get older, I get less stressed about certain things. And I suppose you just worry about different things, don't you? But I think probably life lessons is that most of it works itself out in its own time. You just have to hang on.
Take the long view, right?
Sorry?
I said take the long view. Don't think of it right now.
You can do that when you're my age. When you're 20, it's quite difficult to take the long view, isn't it?
I'm about midway. I'm 46, so I think I'm starting to get a little bit better at this. If someone wrote a book on your life, what would they title it?
I wrote this down. I said, small but feisty, because I'm only 5 foot tall, but I'm quite opinionated. And so I thought, small but feisty. I thought that would suit me.
That's a great name. I love it. I hope somebody does write that book one day. Thank you so much, Heather. This has been a real pleasure.
Thank you for having me. It's been really nice. Thank you very much.
Heather, thank you for talking to me and my listeners. Thank you all for listening from so many countries around the globe. I'm so glad to know you are finding some inspiration from the amazing Mancunian guests who feature here. I hope you enjoyed the 10th episode of the Meet the Mancunian podcast Season 2. Tune in every Tuesday for a new episode. Please do consider subscribing to the podcast and leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts. I would also be grateful if you could share this podcast with a friend or a family member. Thank you so much.